Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm going to be reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's. So obviously this movie's been out for a little bit. I just didn't get an opportunity to review it. I've been on vacation and very busy. But I have to say, it's kind of grown on me, and I'm kind of glad I didn't review it right after watching it. Because the thing about this movie is it's obviously written for its fan base. It's written for a younger audience or people that have more experience with the video games, and I have absolutely zero. I've never played a game, I've never read a book about it, I've never read anything about this franchise. So as me going into it as kind of a seasoned horror fan, there wasn't a lot for me to kind of grab onto, but the more that I've lived with it and the more that I've read about it, I actually think it's a pretty good adaptation of its source material. That being said, like I said, it's not kind of your traditional scary slasher horror movie that maybe I thought it was going to be going into it. I kind of had these idea of like Willy's Wonderland, and maybe this was going to be a better version of that or a more true adaptation of like a source material to that, and it's very different. And I think it's its own movie, and I appreciate that it kind of stuck with what its fans would want. A lot of people criticize fan service in film. Obviously, there's times where it's very gratuitous and it's a detriment to telling a story. But I think in this one, they do a good job of giving the fans what they wanted, at least from what I've read and what people I've talked to that enjoy the franchise. I think where this movie really shines is its production design. Obviously, using the real animatronics, they look really good. The setting is fantastic. There's a reason why this franchise has stuck around so long, is because the simple premise of animatronics and kind of having almost like a haunted Chuck E. Cheese is great. It's fun, it's enjoyable to watch, and I think that this movie really capitalizes on taking that atmosphere and taking that setting and taking it to its fullest potential. I thought the acting was okay. Josh Hutcherson as our main character, he's fine. He almost feels like he's playing in a different movie than the other characters in this film because he's trying to tell a more serious story. He's dealing with the loss of his brother and his mental struggles, and he's really trying to take it to a very dramatic and personal level. And I think some of those moments fall a little flat because the movie itself is a little silly and it's a little ridiculous. And we're trying to dive into these really emotional scenes. At least for me, they didn't hit very hard. Maybe if you are a fan of the franchise, I don't know how involved any of this is in the actual video games, but maybe you have more of a connection to what's happening and why things are the way they are. But if you're watching it as like a passive viewer, some of it's just crazy and silly. The things that are happening and why these leaps in logic and how these things are happening is bizarre. But again, it's one of those things where if you're a fan of the games, maybe this all makes sense and it works. But, you know, for me, it didn't work when I first watched it. Now that I know a little more, I enjoy it a little bit better. Elizabeth Lail, who I know from the first season of You, plays Vanessa in the film. I think she does a pretty good job. She kind of plays a less serious character to Josh Hutcherson. I think kind of the twist towards the end of the film makes her character a little more interesting. She's almost like the narrator in the story. In many ways, people that are uninitiated to what Five Nights at Freddy's is, she's kind of showing you and explaining what's happening, explaining the lore to you in kind of a surface level way. So I appreciated that. I think by the end, she gives a very solid performance because what she's dealing with the twist. So I think the acting overall is fine. Matthew Lillard is in this. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you kind of know where things go with everything with that. But I thought he does a good job. I'd have liked to see more. Everybody loves Matthew Lillard. I mean, he's like a classic horror actor that people enjoy. And I maybe would have liked to see more, maybe him in a different role in the film. Maybe we'll see more in the future. Obviously, I think we're going to sequel to this movie. And I think that the sequel to this movie will be much better, in my opinion, because you'll have more of an established lore for people that haven't played the games. I'm personally probably going to maybe go explore the games a little bit more because of this movie. So going into a sequel, I think I would definitely enjoy it on a much higher level. So overall, like I said, I think it's a movie where if you're a fan of the franchise or you're not that big into horror in general, you'll really enjoy it. If you can appreciate it from a production design level, I think you'll enjoy it. If you are a hardcore horror fan that was expecting kind of a more brutal or a more intense horror film, you may find it a little boring and a little bit silly. So I think it works for its fans. It understood who it was making the movie for, and it made those people happy. And I think that's great for the fans. While it wasn't for me necessarily, I love that people are enjoying this movie. So again, if you check it out, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever played the games or you haven't and how that maybe affected your experience, because I think this is very much a case of that. So thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.